the Bruce, the Yank, and Captain Socks.
I've been demoted.
Now that error has been fixed.
Ready to go.
This episode is brought to you by Valhalla Hobby. Please support the people that support us. You can find them at valhallahobby.com. If you use the code TABLE at checkout, you get 5% off your first order over $100. Thank you very much to Valhalla Hobby. And also thank you very much to our Patreons. This is supported by our Patreons. They are the ones that help keep the lights on. We really appreciate you. If you enjoy our podcast, please consider supporting us at patreon.com/gettingtabled. For $2 a month, you get early access to all video content that we do, including the video edition of this podcast that you'd be able to listen to on the day that the audio is released. Thank you very much. Patreon.com/gettingtabled. But for now...
Brought to you by some guys on the internet.
This is Getting Tabled.
With your hosts Jason the Bruce,
You guy!
George the Yank,
I hope you are all entertained by my inaptitude.
Jason aka Major Socks.
We've been doing this and talking about various stuff. One of the stuff.
Now sit back, relax, and get tabled.
Hello, future people. Welcome to episode 140 of Getting Tabled with your host, Major Socks.
Hello, folks. How's it going? Hope you are all doing okay. Yeah, it's just me and Bruce tonight. So, George isn't here.
Puppies is more important. Even though those puppies don't exist right now,
Nope.
he still seems to think that they're more important.
Yep, I agree.
And even though Michelle said that this joke was for you, I'm going to give it to George instead. George is a lie tenant because he said he had to look after puppies, but those puppies don't exist and he's still not here. So he's a lie tenant.
Yes. Agreed.
Yep.
Wholeheartedly. Anyways, we got some exciting news tonight.
We have a lot of lovely news, some of which we've been waiting for a long time. So we should probably talk about
newly received or noteworthy information, especially about recent or important events.
And we're starting with some weird news. It's kind of a small article, this one. Just because they don't do this sort of thing all the time. So I kind of wanted to talk about it because quite frequently when it comes to promotions and stuff that companies do in this scene, they tend to do it through their own website. Hey, buy this limited edition of this thing. Come to this event, you'll get this limited edition of this thing. Every so often, Weird Games will do a promotion where buy stuff through your local store, show us the receipt for X amount of dollars, and we will send you this thing for free. Yep. So in this case, there's two different ones that are happening through autumn. It's not fall, it's autumn, because I'm sorry. Fall is a stupid name for a season. Fight me. So, I'm not even going to argue on it. It's true. I understand why it happens. It's just dumb. So anyway, the first one is there's a free set of headstones when you place an order in September or October. This is the one that's happening through their web store, which is understandable. However, there's actually a free mini that you can buy if during September and October you spend the equivalent of $75 at your local store. You email that through to Weird Games, and they will send you the juice box, which is an alternate Mortimer, for free.
It's kind of nice.
It supports local stores, and I'm sorry, but this is something that's very important, especially right now when there's so many of them falling over.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm sorry, if your local gaming stores fall over, the hobby is dead.
It's your fault for not supporting your local stores.
I won't quite go that far. There are some stores that put themselves under.
That is true. That is true.
Yeah. So I really like this. I like the fact that they do this. And like even in Australia, like if you go out and buy the equivalent of $75, hence why I said it that way, they will send it out to you here at their own cost. This isn't US only. Like I have done this before with previous versions of this competition. So yeah, it's definitely
Yeah,
worth
it's cool.
doing.
Cool idea.
Yep. Next up, there's this little game that we almost never talk about it. It's called Dropfleet Commander.
No. It's the reason why we're here to begin with.
Yeah, quite literally. It's why we all met. So we've known this was coming for a while. We've had some exclusive stuff that we've discussed in the past. And I want to touch on something very, very quickly because this has confused people quite a lot. I have a complaint, Lewis. Everything that was taken off the website has been reintroduced to the website as a new product. And now everybody's questioning the validity of what we told them, thinking that we were claiming that all of this stuff, which is not new, is new. I guess it's a limitation to their software. I just wish that the only stuff that said new was actually the new stuff. I find this really frustrating. So, there's a huge list of things here. The stuff that is new. Obviously, we've got a brand new 2-player starter set that we want. We have a brand new rule book that we want. We have new cards that we want. There is new Biosopher ships that we want. And the light ships is the brand new one. There is also other stuff that's new that is coming. Not everything that's being released for pre-order this weekend is the new stuff. We know that there are 20 sprues that have been done. They are not all here yet. Some of them will be done later.
Yep.
A small business will spread their new stuff
releases
over a period because that's how they make business. If everything's released in one weekend, then they get one weekend of sales and then no sales for the rest of the year. Not everybody can be Games Workshop. So for those of you, there's quite a few people in the Dropfleet Commander that have been questioning whether people were lying and kind of, it kind of feels like you're just ignoring industry standards at this point so that you can throw accusations around, and I don't really appreciate it. They didn't direct it at us specifically, but given that we were one of the main voices talking about this, I felt rather attacked by that.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't think it was very fair. I don't know what the most exciting... I mean, the rulebook, I suppose, is the most exciting thing. But it's kind of hard. I like the fact, there's a whole heap of stuff here that's direct only, which is interesting. But I don't know what I'm most excited about.
Should we talk about what we get in the 2-player starter set? Because it's different than the last one.
That is true. We should
not
start
a whole lot
there.
different. There is some stuff.
Yeah. So the UCM side of this is largely the same. You get a cruiser sprue, and you get
3 of them.
You get 3, 3 cruiser sprues, and you get...
And 2 frigate sprues, I'm guessing.
2 frigate sprues. But I would argue probably the most exciting thing about this is that we are also getting Biosophers in the starter set, which doesn't surprise me. I was kind of expecting this.
Yeah. New faction, put it out in the new 2-player starter set. It's the way to go.
Yep. 24 Dropfleet bases, and yes, it is the new bases, which we are on record as saying that we're not a fan of the new bases. I'm sorry, but we're not. But it is what it is. That's what we have now.
Yeah. I do like some of the UCM redesigned scopes. For example, the Seattle, which is a normal fleet carrier, it no longer has your shoulder-mounted guns. It now has 2 twin head-mounted turrets, if that is the Seattle variant, or a different variant of a fleet carrier. So we'll have to see what ships, because they did say that new ships designs were going to be coming out. New ships altogether were going to be coming out as well, not just new ship designs. Because you can see there the Lima, those two little frigates with the little bulges on the sides. Those are Lima frigates, but they're sculpted a little bit differently, and so they have resculpted these a little bit, which is cool to kind of see. So
that's the Limas that he's referring to there. I really like the artwork. I am going to say this again. I don't like the new logo. Sorry, I don't like the new Dropfleet Commander logo. Maybe I don't like change either. I don't know. Just I can't put my finger on it. There's just something about that logo that doesn't do it for me.
Actually, so yeah, if you look on the picture with all the ship stat sheets, that is the Edmonton. So that is a brand new cruiser for the UCM. And then looks like the other one is a new UCM cruiser as well. I don't recognize that name, but it's hard to read what it is. So, I'm looking at a UCM flash play sheet.
Oh, there it is. Okay. Yep.
In the main screenshot with everything.
No, we don't. So we have one that says easy sheet, one that says UCM fast play, one that says Biosopher fast play.
Fast play sheet.
New tokens too. Those tokens have been redesigned.
Yep.
A little bit. Like they're not massively different, but
No.
they are different nonetheless.
They were yellow and purple in the first set, so this is nice getting two different colors. So those of us that have the old set, we could have 4-player game.
Good point. We have space station tokens, which I actually think is a nice change.
I think it's cool. Yes, especially for those of you that don't want to get the space station kits or don't have them, you can play with space stations right away.
And the ground targets have been redesigned as well in a way that appears that it might be easier to customize.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see whether they are thin card or not. I'm kind of hoping that we get some thicker card. I don't think we will, but I'm kind of hoping that we do.
Yeah. Michelle did want to mention that for the Biosphere ships, the little cells go inside some of the cruisers. And so depending on how you build your ships, will depend on which cell you're going to use.
I think it was George that said that. I could be wrong. It was either you or George. It wasn't me. But we had made the prediction that it felt like that's how that worked. And we have confirmation that they do.
Kind of cool to see some customization, kind of like the Resistance with the Biospheres.
So, yeah, they basically, the gap here that's on the larger ships, they slide into there. So they basically launch out from the larger ships, which is kind of cool. I really love that idea. Because it's very unique.
Yeah.
So that's the 2-player starter set. Rules book-wise, we have a new 60-page document that's coming. You cannot download it or anything yet. It's not out yet. But it's a 60-page book. There's not really much else we can say about it at this point. It's soft cover. It's stapled through the middle, so it's a £10 book. It's a very budget-friendly option, which is nice. There's no spine on it, which is I always kind of like a spine on my rule books, but it's only a 60-page document. You can't really justify a spine on it.
Yeah, I agree. It's not like the first one where it had huge bunch of lore to it, and then all the ships for all 4 factions. This is probably just going to be your basic rules. It's not going to have any of the specific faction stat sheets, because you'll get that through the website for your fleet builder.
Yeah, exactly. And on the side here, if you click on Light, don't bother clicking on new releases, because it lists everything as a new release, even though it shouldn't.
Yep.
Sorry, it annoys me. So, we have monitors. I believe the destroyers are plastic as well. Actually, hang on. Go back.
The destroyers are plastic now.
Yep.
I think that was one of the ones they showed at one of the expos.
If I go back, you can actually select plastic, and it will show you everything that's plastic. But yes, I am also going to 2 light ships. And there you can see the light ship box. It also shows the frigate sprues and stuff. Oh, this is not... There's an error on your website, Louis. Half of the stuff that it's supposed to be showing is not being shown. Fine. Okay. So yeah, the monitors are plastic now, which is a new sprue. The destroyers are plastic now, which is a new sprue. Because they both used to be resin. And obviously the not the core box, the light box that has all of the stuff in it, where it's lots of different ships. So not these corvettes, not the monitors. You will come across, where is it? Boxes. So Shaltari light ship. You'll have a couple of different things in here. And it looks like what they're doing is they're giving you an option to buy the box or buy the sprues separately. Hence why you can buy the light ship box, or you can buy the cutters or destroyers and so forth separately. But they're only allowing the separate sales to happen through their store, which I think is fair enough. Because an actual game store isn't going to want to actually stock sprue anyway.
No.
Because it just creates problems. So there we go. That's everything. Like, there is actually quite a bit that's coming, but there is more coming than we are seeing here as well. Depending on how this sale goes, we may get even more. So, I guess we'll find out. But that's not it from the Dropfleet stuff.
We have 5 new rules.
Yep. Well,
Teasers.
5 teasers for the 5 key rule changes. Or, as we're going to touch on in a minute, 4 key rule changes and something that feels like they've just thrown in there so that it's a nice round number.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to go through these in order. I'm going to touch on one particular thing last, and there will be a fairly good reason for that. I want to start with...
And we're not going to go in detail, because we're going to go more about this in detail during our game talk section as well. So
yeah. I want to start with the thing that to us was the most important, and I think...
ground game.
To everybody was the most important. Yeah, ground game. Everybody at TT Combat has known it. Dave has acknowledged it since the game first came out, that it was a problem. So their wording is significantly sped up. Putting boots on the ground is still the aim of the game, but you'll spend less time moving tokens around with much quicker resolutions to your battalions. That is essentially what it needed to become.
Yes.
Whether it works in the real world, obviously we don't know yet. We don't know what the ruling is. I know that the agents have been testing this. I'm not in the agency program anymore, though, so I can't tell you anything. Although I couldn't even if I was.
Nope.
The one that I kind of feel is not... The one that I feel doesn't belong on this list is scenario generation. Now, don't get me wrong. I love scenario generation. It's a really cool thing to add to a game. But it's not a key rule change. It's just a feature of the new rulebook. I don't know. Maybe I'm being nitpicky there. Admiral abilities is... They've kind of just changed how they're working. And it's essentially... for 40k players out there, it's essentially command points. It's not working the same way, but it's essentially command points. Energy, kinetic, backup saves, and energy, kinetic, core damage. So, depending on what type of weapon it is, it does different types of damage. Yay! This is great. Well,
Splits what you're going to build in your army. You now have to have a more well-rounded army to be able to produce these type of weapon damages.
I'm going to try and word this in a way that's not as cynical as what it was when I was saying it to you earlier.
Shaltari is not the...
I was not going to say it, damn it.
I'll say it.
So, but one of the problems with Dropfleet Commander beyond the ground game was that realistically, most of the time there was only one list that was really worth taking. Like, even when there was new stuff that came out, it kind of felt like it was like you take this list or you lose. A lot of people have Shaltari for a reason. It is a thing. But even like even in Scourge, like there's really only a couple of you take a list. Having different types of damage allows for the game to be more diverse, and it means that in theory, everything will have a place. This is going to go one of either two ways. Either it'll work, and it'll add depth to the game, which is what it desperately needs, or it's going to overcomplicate everything and make it a little bit more tedious. Hopefully it doesn't go that later route. We're not going to know until it's on the table. But, yeah. So, I mean, this isn't a criticism. I'm just acknowledging that, like, this is something that could happen. And then we get to the one that I've left till last on purpose. Alternate activations has immediately split the player base between essentially those that are either okay or excited about it and everybody that hates that it's been done. We will talk more about it later. I will say this. There is no right side to that argument. If you're unhappy about it, you have some fairly legitimate reasons to be unhappy. If you're excited about it, you have every right to be excited about it. It's a very large difference to the game now, which is going to upset some people, and it's going to excite some people.
Yeah. Like I said, we'll talk more about this in Game Talk.
Yep. So yeah, there we go. Dropfleet Commander, 2nd edition. Get your pre-orders in now.
Closer.
If you have the option of buying it locally, obviously support your local store. Otherwise, TT Combat, Valhalla Hobby, Go for Games, I think, is the other major one in the US. They're doing the importing for it, I believe. So, we don't really have anybody locally, unfortunately. We are going to have to order it through TT Combat. Or we can order it through TT Combat. Coming up next, a couple of ones. I threw these ones on for Socks. So we have the probably one that's going to excite him less, which is the 6th Airborne Division, but it's only the UK, so he doesn't care about that. But these are like limited edition boxes where it just gives you a complete army in a box, essentially. The other one, however, I think might grab your attention a little more, because it's the 82nd Airborne Division for the United States.
Yeah, but I'm not in the Army.
I don't care.
No, it is pretty cool. I mean, it's nice.
I just thought you're into historical gaming, so I thought you might get.
I am. Do you know what? This used to be my game, the game that I used to play. I don't play this one anymore.
I put this in for you, and you don't care.
I appreciate it. 5 verse.
Oh my work.
No, it's pretty cool that they're doing these division boxes, because not every army out there is well known, but the 82nd, 101st Airborne, the 6th Airborne Division for the British, they're pretty well known divisions because they helped immensely during D-Day and a couple other operations afterwards. So it is kind of cool that they're getting the recognition of a complete box now instead of having to build your own.
Pretty much. And I mean, you can build your own, but it's nice to get an army in a box, especially for people that are getting into the game for the first time. So I'm really excited. I'd like to just play this one particular force that I know that happened. Well, easy. You can buy the 82nd Airborne Division. You can buy the 6th Airborne Division. It's just a really easy... It's a game in a box. Well, no. Yeah. It's half of a game in a box.
Half. Yeah.
And then we finally get to the Warhammer stuff. And we're going to start with...
The one that George should be here for?
No, it's me that's been harping on about this for years.
I know.
And I've got to say, I'm massively disappointed. Do you know why I'm massively disappointed, Socks?
Using old sculpts again?
No. Because I gave up. And I went and bought somebody else.
Oh, that's right. You bought the gnomes. You bought your Smurfs.
And they've finally given me Chaos Dwarves. That now I don't want. I do love these sculpts, though. I will buy these at some point. I'm not pre-ordering them, though. I will buy them later. I have wanted these to be released for a very long time. I am definitely excited that they have finally done it. I still don't understand why it took them so long. but I just wish it had happened sooner. I really, really do. I only have one negative thing to say, which is that the Bull Centaurs are done in Forge World resin. And I'm sorry, that's a bad thing. Because I'm not a fan of Forge World resin. I know it's an unpopular opinion, but Forge World resin is massively overrated in my opinion, and extremely bad quality in my opinion. I know it's an unpopular opinion, but it's a fact as far as I am personally concerned. I've never had a positive experience with it. Not because of resin, specifically Forge World resin I find is extremely poor quality. So, I don't know. We'll see how the rest of it goes.
Yeah.
They are only 2 minis out of what you would normally be buying. So, but unfortunately, they are 2 minis that you have to have. You cannot run this. You cannot run this team without them. I mean, you can, but you won't because you'd be stupid to.
You won't. Yeah, you won't win very much.
Yeah. Of all of the Games Workshop games, I suspect that this is probably the one that you would enjoy. It would annoy the hell out of you, but you will enjoy it. We also have Wolf coming in for Lord of the Rings, or Middle-earth strategy battle game, which is really nice. It's a really nice looking sculpt.
Mm-hmm.
So these are all coming from the Nova Open. There was a lot more on the Nova Open previews than I'm showing here. Generally speaking, feedback's been fairly negative. People kind of felt that it was a because most of the Nova Open was talking about roadmaps and stuff, which I think people kind of found disappointing. Given that it's been, 3 weeks since Gen Con? Or is it 4?
About 3, maybe 4.
So, all
4.
of the big previews happened at Gen Con, which is the biggest show. So, of course it did. And then this has been, essentially, here's a couple of previews. Oh, and then here's the plans for the next 12 months. It kind of, I guess, they kind of did the stuff that they had to talk about rather than what was going to be exciting. I think probably what they should have done, if they insist on having previews for both shows so close together, they should probably give more thought to how they spread out their news articles.
Yep.
Like there's been a couple of previews that we've looked at recently, one of which I even talked about. Like there was a preview 2 weeks ago, and even that one didn't include something that had been revealed 2 days earlier. It kind of feels like one side is not talking to the other. I think they, of all companies, Games Workshop kind of need to get this right.
Interior communication needs to be reset.
Yeah, there's something missing there. If they were planning their previews, then that negative... I don't actually have a massive problem with anything they've been showing off. Like, none of it's really excited me bar the Chaos Dwarves, but I don't think it's a bad preview. But a lot of people did, and I think if they had to plan their preview better, or previews better, because to me it feels like either they should just choose not to do one of those 3, because I now realise it's 3, not 2, within a month and a half, or they just need to spread them out better, so that you don't have 2 exciting things and then one that kind of feels like there's no point having. Because here's the other thing. Every time they do one of these large preview shows, it's also quite expensive. All of those people have to be paid to present. I mean, it's questionable what they're paid. I don't have no idea, but I don't imagine that it's cheap to have that high production cost for a big preview like that. Especially for a company that likes to present themselves as the only thing in the industry worth talking about. Which they're not, but that's what they like to pretend. So, yeah. Like I said, there's definitely some things in here. I mean, I don't play Middle-earth. And I'm never going to play Middle-earth. I love Lord of the Rings, but I don't want to play it on the tabletop. But I still think this is exciting. Like, I still think this looks really cool. Not as cool as the next thing, though.
Some Bushido?
Some Bushido. we have had, and I'm quite astounded by this. I made this comment in one of our chat groups with Ben and the guys from Gaming with the Guys. They've revealed 2 box sets within a week, which is very un-GCT Studios. The first one is this the Path of 1,000 Names, which is for the Silvermoon Syndicate. I kind of wish that one of those pictures was bigger, if I'm being honest.
I agree.
But if I zoom in, there you go. You get a little bit of an idea of what's coming in the box. It's all very, very, very nice looking stuff. My favourite from this box is the guy with his 2 sickles. It looks like he's about to go shoop and take his head off. I mean, they're all nice. That's just my favourite. And the other one that we get, and this is a box set that is specifically an event box set. You can only buy this at events. So, yes, I'm going to have the same opinion on this that I do everybody that does this. I really don't like it. I wish I could just buy it, thank you. But in saying that, this might be the nicest looking box set I've seen since the Ninjas, as far as box sets is concerned.
It is a cool looking set.
Oh,
I do
love
like
the
it.
The evil jellyfish type thing. I love the mer creatures. Like, it kind of
The little
feels
crabs.
like a mixture between Lovecraftian and Japanese horror. I don't know what my favourite thing is. Maybe the thing with the open mandibles.
Yeah.
It's just really cool. But yeah, like I said, this is one that you are only going to be able to get at certain events, which is the disappointing thing about it. And otherwise, let's talk about some Warlord stuff. There's a couple of interesting Warlord stories coming. Probably the most exciting being the one that I'll discuss at the end. So for ABC Warriors, we have these Makana G-Men, which personally, I really like these minis. These are fun. They kind of feel like they could go in anything. I mean, they're obviously not designed to go in anything. They're designed to go in ABC Warriors. But sculpt-wise, I could see these very easily as alternates for certain things within 40k. Like, they just look cool. I really like these. I'm not familiar with the rules for ABC Warriors.
Neither am I.
But I will say this. It has a really cool looking grav car.
Yes.
So I kind of want this grav car. That is really, really cool. Speaking of cool, I want a giant robotic spider.
Don't we all?
For some reason, this giant robotic spider appears to have a nose. Oh, no, never mind. It's the little new things. It looked like a nose for a second. I'm sure they have a name, but I don't know what it is. Actually, no. They're mandibles, right?
I think so.
Giant robotic spider that looks like a giant robotic spider. It doesn't look like it's trying to pretend to be a real spider. It's just a giant robotic spider.
Yep.
It's really cool. It looks like it's all very poseable, which is nice.
Yeah.
That one actually shows you how it goes together, which is a nice change. Probably more important in that case, because whereas it's fairly obvious how the G-Men and stuff go together.
Mm-hmm.
I am actually curious. No, you don't get anything like that with the car. It's just the spider.
No.
But this is the one that's kind of like more complicated, right? So you have to be able to show how it goes together. And no, I take it back. It's not poseable. There are little lugs in it, so it can only go together one way. Those front ones you could probably pivot to be here.
Pinned a
or
little
here,
bit, yeah.
Or here.
The ones that are actually holding it up, yeah, those ones are going to be pinned so it can
Yeah.
be supported.
But I realise that this name's probably not going to mean much to you, Socks, because you're not really a 40k or a Games Workshop person. But Gav Thorpe has joined the Conflict 47 writing team. This is a very, very big deal. Gav Thorpe is one of the main writing forces behind 40k lore for a very long time. He is a very big deal as far as authors is concerned. And he's now joined the writing team. He's joined as a creative force, which is what he should be doing. We don't know what this is going to lead to at this point. I guess that we'll probably end up getting like a new edition with some new lore with Conflict 47 or something.
Yeah.
Conflict 47, for those that don't know, is like an alternate World War type thing where it just kept going, sort of. Yeah, think Dust, but it's not Dust.
Yep.
It's just that sort of idea. So, yeah, this is, like I said, this is a very big deal. I recognise that because you're not really into anything that he's worked on, you probably don't really know who he is.
Nope. Which is fine.
Yeah. And then last but not least, there's this little game called Armoured Clash that I hear you're really not a big fan of, and you don't want to buy it. Your wife is very happy because you don't want to buy this, but we're going to force you to buy it.
Not yet, at least. I'm not going to buy this. And the reason why I'm not going to buy this yet is because the Imperium and the Silkmaid aren't out yet.
You're going to buy specifically them. Yep, fair enough.
Buy specifically them. I'll probably buy the rulebook. That way I can use Drop Zone Commander type units as proxies so I can understand the rules. But actual units themselves, no, because I'm not Crown and I'm not Empire. I'm going to hold out until the other two show up and are available. So I'll probably buy a couple of dice sets, a couple decks of cards, and the rules just so I can. And then I'll get those additional sets later on, but who cares? I'll have them for demo setups when the time comes for demos. But these are the pre-release orders for September because 28th of September next month, this game gets released finally. So
So we've got a 2-player starter set. We actually talked about that last episode, so we know what's in that. We also have the Crown introductory set and the Empire introductory set. We have the dice that he just mentioned, the rulebook he just mentioned, the deck that he just mentioned. But then we also have the actual starter sets for each faction, which I think is the box with just that stuff.
So the 2-player starter set. There is some terrain in the 2-player starter set as well. But I think the big, huge resin land ships are in the main starter sets, and they don't come in the 2-player starter set. So you get different type of commanders in the 2-player starter set, whereas you get if you buy the faction battle group starter sets, you get the big, huge land ships that look like Mortal Engine stuff that George was talking about. So,
So
but overall, great looking stuff. I mean, a lot of ground units, whether they're tanks or infantry or artillery pieces or whatever you're wanting, and then a couple pieces of terrain, which is nice too. So
comparing the Crown faction battle group and the introductory, it would appear. So you're getting the giant tank plus the scenery.
Yep.
And it actually appears that it's 2 sets of the introductory set.
Yeah.
Because the introductory set is 2 of those first tanks, and then it's 4 on the other one, and it's the same with the larger tank there and the walkers. Yep. Yeah, so it appears you get the introductory set at 45, or you have the faction starter, which is 2 of those, plus everything else. So one of them's an army in a box, essentially.
Yeah. The other one is just there to, if you want to add on to your forces, because how the game is set up based on, well, I don't know if I can say this anymore because it's not officially out yet. I'll hold off on that.
You better not then. Also included, and I think this is the important stuff, with the introductory... Wait, hang on. Yeah, with the introductory box, which is the bigger one, it does come with your rulebook, it does come with your dice, and it comes with a token sheet. I think that means you've got to buy the deck, though, because it doesn't say it includes the deck, which is disappointing, because it kind of should.
I agree, it should. I have to agree.
Like, they've literally included everything apart from that deck, which makes me think that's a mistake. Whether it's a deliberate mistake or not is another question. But why include everything you need apart from one item.
Yeah.
I assume you have to have the deck to play like you do with everything else.
Yeah, yes. The way it is played out, yes, you're going to need it.
Yeah. And obviously, I've been looking at the Crown one, but obviously it's the same for the Empire. So.
Yep, exact same.
Yep. Really nice.
Looking forward to this. Yeah, it's good to see this finally coming out. I'm excited to see what they come out with in the future for these factions, but also the other factions. We've shown off some videos or some screenshots of all the drawings for the infantry for the other factions. I'm really looking forward to seeing more stuff.
Yeah.
They're saying Imperium is early next year, so I'm looking forward to that.
Gives you some time to save.
Yeah.
Like me with Dropfleet Commander, where I haven't had time to save because I bought a new motorcycle.
Yeah.
So
I will be buying the rulebook for Dropfleet.
Oh, I will be as well. I just have to kind of wait till I can at this point, unfortunately.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally understand. Life sucks sometimes.
Yeah, it does. It is
Adulting.
what it is.
It is.
But otherwise, I think it's time to move on to an indie project.
Indie. Definition. Independent. Type. Slang word. Jargon.
So for some people, they're going to look at this business and go, hang on, how is this an indie? Because it's probably fair to say that this is one of the larger indies we've covered. Geek Gaming Scenics are available pretty much everywhere at this point. But honestly, like, this is a small company that was started by somebody on YouTube that was just excited for the hobby when he got into it. And what started as a channel to show people how to build things became that plus him peddling his own product. And I don't actually mean peddling in a bad way. I was a big fan of Luke's channel. If you're not... When it comes to basing, I feel that there's two types of people. Those that love it and those that only do it because they have to. And if you're in that second camp, which is me, usually, this is so much easier. Now, granted, I will say this. I know that there are people out there that don't like this product. And I'm not saying those people are wrong. Because for some people, the problem with this is that it's not painted, and therefore it looks weird with a miniature that's painted. I don't agree with this sentiment. I understand where it comes from, but I don't agree with it. Because if anything, to me, that makes the mini stand out more.
Mm-hmm.
Because this becomes kind of like a bland thing in comparison. So, assuming that you pick the right one.
Yeah.
So, there's multiple different things that we could look at here. The terrain ready range is essentially what you'd expect. It's scatter and it's flock for your terrain. Realistically, today, we only care about the base ready range. So that's what we're going to look at. I do own a number of these products. And personally, what I've actually done is because they all come in bags, and I put them in these discardable containers. I put the sticker on the front with what's inside on the top. I find it a much easier way to store them. This is like 4 or 5 of the bags in one giant container. I find it easier than the bags. So the fast drying base glue is what goes down first, and it's essentially PVA, but it's a PVA that's designed to dry quickly.
Yeah.
The sealant spray is what you spray over the top of it to glue everything down afterwards, and works really well so long as you keep the nozzle clean. And then from there, it's literally just a matter of, hey, pick the thing you want your guy to stand on. Are you playing Lord of the Rings? Well, therefore, you only have one option. No, 2 options. If you're playing Lord of the Rings, either you're going to have some ready fields of New Zealand, because that's where Middle-earth is. It's in New Zealand.
Yeah.
Or you're going to have some city rubble to make it look like Mordor. Because, I realise this is meant to be grimdark city rubble, but rubble is rubble.
Mordor or the volcanic island.
Yeah. A volcanic island would work as well. I will say this about the volcanic island. Make sure you seal it down properly, because it's very dusty.
Very fine.
And it comes off on your fingers. It's almost chalky in the way it works. It's also probably worth noting the Grimdark Tomb World is just the volcanic island, but with green rocks in it.
Yeah.
That's not a criticism. It's just that is what it is. What's this one that I had? So this is the Patchy Plains, which, as far as like just regular ground is concerned, it's probably my favorite. Like just regular grassy ground. It just looks like grassy ground. I also have some of the Taiga hillside, which kind of recreates like Japanese landscape, or is supposed to. So that's what I was using for my Bushido stuff.
Bushido, yeah.
I quite like the pine forest ground cover, scrublands. I mean, there's not really a lot in here I don't like.
Yeah.
I have not tried the snow powder. I do own some of it, but I haven't tried it. But it really is just as simple as, look, I have my minis painted. I really don't care about the bases. I just want to get them based. So you put glue down on the base, you put them in the thing, you shake off the excess, wait for it to dry, and then you seal it. Like, it is as simple as that. Have you actually used this stuff, Socks?
No, but I'm thinking about getting some of it for my Hannibal sets.
Yep.
For my basing for those whenever I can get around to getting them finished.
I'm just trying to think where the war actually happens.
It's all over. I could use pretty much anything because they started up in Spain. There's North Africa areas. There's Italy. There's southern France. So there's a wide range of covers that I could use, and it would work for.
Yeah.
Any
Realistically, of it, really. I would probably, mainly for the scale, I would probably look like something at like the Pine Forest.
Yeah.
Maybe the Taiga Hillside. But
yeah, I wasn't going to be probably getting some of the ones with the bigger stones in them, because you're absolutely right. 15 mil scale is going to look like
literal
a boulder.
boulders, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I was thinking like a forest path or the ones you mentioned earlier.
Yep. Forest ground cover, pine cover, yeah.
Pine ground,
the fine stuff. Rugged field would work. You just have to pick out the stones, is all.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's it. Let us discuss some hobby.
Trim, glue, prime, paint.
What have you been? Oh, nobody cares. What have you been up to, Socks?
Nothing, really.
Boo.
Okay, you want to read 100 to 150 pages a night and write 3 to 4 page papers?
Yes, I want you to do that. I don't want to. I want you to do that.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Have I shown you my library that I have?
No.
Did I show you guys my... No? That's my library, just for the next 4 months.
Oh, it's 5 minutes reading. You'll be fine.
Yeah, exactly.
Just pretend like you read it. It'll be fine. How will they ever know?
And we have a 3-hour conversation each day about what we read the night before.
Make it up. And then there's the bit in the story where the big bad guy comes out. It's all history, right? You know history.
It's military theory and doctrine.
I have a theory that we should kill them.
I'm okay with that theory sometimes. No, that's what I've been up to. I'm hoping my class has decided that we're going to try and split the readings up, and so we don't have to read 150 pages each. We'll only read like 10, and then we'll summarize it, and then we can read someone else's summary on their 10 to 15 pages. And so if this goes into fruition, I might be able to have a little more free time on my hands to be able to get some paint on it, because I'm wanting to use my new table back there and my shelves, and they're starting to gather dust back there because I've set them up and I haven't done anything with them yet. So
you're gonna have to sell them.
No, I'm not doing that.
I just realized.
What have you been up to?
What have I been up to?
Buying a motorcycle?
Isn't that a loaded question? All right. Well, I have been doing quite a few things. I have actually continued with my painting. So
Nice.
that's actually using the hard leather from Speed Paint. Because I have 2 of these, and the other one I did with the dark wood. So basically what I've done is hard leather is being used for the trim on the dark wood, and dark wood is being used for the trim on the hard leather. Obviously, I still need to green the leaves out and everything. I haven't done all of the attachments and stuff yet. So that's going on. I have continued painting...
Uh-oh.
It didn't break, it's okay. I've continued painting these up when I can. So these are going to be gnomes eventually. Sorry, these are going to be Smurfs eventually, or inspired by. I mean, they're not Smurfs. I mean, not all Smurfs had beards for starters, but it works.
No.
Obviously, I can't just do blue and white because that's going to look rather dull. So I'm doing blue, white, and red because it's kind of everything that you got in the Smurf show. I mean, there was one character that had yellow as well, but... And then these guys, which is the only females in the team, are obviously being done after Smurfette. I need to yellow their hair just a little bit more.
Yeah, I was going to say it needs a little bit more yellow to that.
And we have foxes that are... I think I found the perfect colour for these, honestly.
Yeah, those are good.
There's also one that has a ball in his mouth.
It's awesome.
There's still detail that needs to be done, but they're coming along.
Yeah.
The thing I didn't show off last time that I probably should have is I've also been doing up.
Ooh.
I unboxed these like a year and a half ago. This is my Empire of Dust stuff, a Kings of War Armada.
Yeah.
And so far, I'm really happy with how they're turning out.
Yeah, they look good.
Little mystical green there in the front. I've kind of avoided going for the like metallic because in the books, like in the artwork generally, all of this stuff is like gold and gold trim and stuff. And basically, what I've done is I've used like a sandstone type color, but obviously I need to dry brush it a little bit to get it to come out. I've also worked on the sails, and they're all kind of the same sort of idea. So they did have that gradual grading on them, which doesn't work with this particular colour overly well, but I don't mind it so much, honestly. It just makes them look worn.
Yeah.
I'm yet to decide what colour I'm making this. I'm tempted just to go black.
That would look cool.
But I haven't decided. There's also smaller versions of the sails, but they look the same but smaller.
Yeah.
So everything on this has been speed painted. Speed paint's probably not the best thing to use for the sails, in all honesty.
No.
But I've just been getting it done. And then otherwise...
Da-da-da-da.
I finally have a new bike. So, Socks, have you ever had two keys with two different locks with two different keys that look almost identical?
No.
And then you've had to try to remember every time which key is which.
No.
No? Well, you're annoying then. So, I have two keys on my bike, one of which is for the steering lock, and one of which is for the fuel cap. They are different, because the lockable fuel cap on this is an accessory. It's not something that comes on the bike. It'd be nice if they were the same key, but they're not. So what I did is I actually painted one of my keys to
that's probably smart.
be able to tell which one is which. And for anybody out there that is buying an Indian Chief, just for the record, the key that comes inside of this is not the same blank. I got told something wrong, so... Genuine error, genuine human error. They did apologise, and I am getting a refund on... I spent $40 getting a keycat that won't work. So he's gonna give me that back when I get it serviced. Because it was his mess up. But yeah, I'm really, really happy. I'm loving my bike. There's still stuff I want to do to it. It does have a new seat. I need to change the handlebars still. I need to add luggage racks and stuff that are coming. I'm just waiting for them to arrive. That's why I haven't pre-ordered Dropfleet Commander yet, because I don't really have money at the moment. Because things are tight. Because I'm having to replace stuff. So, it is what it is. I'm not complaining. It is what it is. I also got a sizable package. Everybody look at my sizable package. This is Moonstone. Yes, I'm saying it that way on purpose. So for those that are listening to the audio version, what I'm holding in my hand is a giant box filled with Moonstone minis. This will all be unboxed at some point during the channel. None of it has been opened yet. I got this about a week and a half ago, I want to say, Socks. It was after the last episode, so that is definitely coming. So look out for that on the channel, youtube.com/gettingtabled. And then, last but not least, I did buy one thing. I bought some cards. Mainly because it's Evangelion. And therefore I needed to have it. That's it from me.
Talk nerdy to me.
Alright. So, I probably should have left the tab open.
I closed mine down and I had to reopen it too, so don't worry.
Yep. So,
all right, scenario
Dropfleet
generation.
Commander. Well,
talk about that.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's the easiest one.
Yeah. So let's bring up the actual tab. Oh, that's really annoying. All right. So yes, we've got new stuff incoming for Dropfleet Commander. Second edition is finally here. There was a point in time where we were genuinely worried about how long it was going to take them to do this. I just want to say this first and foremost. My early concerns of if they release this too quickly, it might not go well. I think these key changes shows that they have been putting thoughts into the right areas. I mean, no, I'm not just talking about the ground game here, because that was a really obvious change that needed to happen. Like, there was no secret behind that. It's not like we were talking behind Louis' back and saying, they really need to do this, or why won't they do it? Everybody knew. Louis knew. Dave acknowledged it within weeks of the game. Like, within weeks of the game coming out. That the ground combat needed. But it needed time to figure out how to fix it, is the other problem as well.
Not just that, but then Hawk went through the merger with TT Combat too, so that kind of took priority on setting that back up and introducing new ships over time.
To some extent, they're still recovering from that, I would probably argue. Like, the US distribution is really only just back on its feet now.
Yes.
Like, the last 12 months or so, and that merges 5-6 years ago now.
Yeah.
It's before we were active. That was during Hot LZ.
Yeah.
Scenario generation. I mean, scenario generation when you're releasing a new version of a game feels like a pretty easy inclusion, right? It's probably one of the hardest things to get right. But as far as making a game last longer, hell, for tournaments alone, this is a really good idea.
Yes.
There was a huge part of the community that was doing stuff like this for a long time. Why not take advantage of something that is very clearly of an interest to a community? That's what they did with the Resistance. The Resistance was essentially inspired by something the community was doing as well. Because the community was like pointing up everything and like making your own ships. It's like, well, actually, yeah, that's a great idea. Okay, here's the Resistance. That's how they work.
Yep.
I mean, nobody really talks about it out loud, but that is basically
that's
where
how
those
they
rules came from.
Yep.
I think, again, I'm going to come back to alternate activations because this is going to be the hot topic for the day. Like, there are a lot of people that's upset about this. I'm not one of those people. Actually, no. Yeah, let's just talk about it now.
All right. I'm not
Alternate
either.
activations. I will say first and foremost, I don't feel I'm putting any words in his mouth because he kind of said this openly in our chat. George is not a fan of this. I'm not going to go as far as to say that he's upset or angry, but he's not a fan of this at all. It completely changes the strategy of how this game works. On the other side of that argument, yes, that's kind of the point. It's supposed to do that.
Yeah. This is when your strat rating will really matter now in the game. You're not just going to have a really high or a bunch of lows. This is when you're really going to be playing around with your strat rating on making your groups, your battle groups, the right size.
Yeah.
So that you can still kind of get that initiative, choosing to have the initiative, but at the same time, you may want to have that initiative at the same time.
And if you have a super heavy that's all by itself, and you go up against somebody that has 4 different groups, like that is potentially going to hurt you.
Yeah.
Because then, like maybe my strategy rating is less than yours, so I get to go first. But that's all well and good. Now you're coming back at me with 4 different things.
Yes.
Or even if you get to go first and then I can respond, you still have 3 things to follow.
Yes.
I think what this is going to do long term for the game is it gives people more of a reason to have multiple things within a group. Which I kind of felt like there wasn't really much of a reason to, unless you just didn't have a lot of ships. Like there was really no reason to group things up. Beyond you had to have them somewhere.
Yeah.
This actually means you have to think about how you want your army to play and how you want them to be. It's not just a matter of, well, I'll put these in with that because, I don't know, they've got to go somewhere.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where I want this ship to be over there. So I've got my ground coming down from these 2. So I'll put up something with them to defend them. Was generally how I would play it. But now I actively will have to do that.
Yep.
You
as may
opposed
not
to
have
some other
anything
people
with
that
your
would have all of their ground troops within the one thing. I wouldn't do that. Because whenever I did that, I ended up losing everything.
I would stick my strike carriers in with like a troop ship group because my strike carriers could go out on their own because they have the open and outlier rules, and once they got down to the atmosphere, my troop ship's going to be surrounded with the rest of my fleet. So but it could go both ways. You're absolutely right, and we're probably not going to see too many guys out there, players putting stuff with super heavies because it's already have a SR rating of 15, and so you put anything more in there, and you're going to be getting near the 20 rating, and so just to give it some support. So I don't think we'll see anything, but your lower ratings, your line, your what's the other one? There's line, Vanguard, the small one where you have to have a small ship, a light tonnage, Pathfinder. I think that's what it is.
Pathfinder.
Line,
anyway,
Vanguard,
whatever it's called.
Whatever it is. Those 2 that you have to have at least one in your list. I think those are the 2 that are going to be rounded out a whole lot more as we see these new alternate activations. I mean, in a sense, we already have alternate activations in a sense based off of what the strat rating cards are anyways. But you just do your entire battle groups instead of a single group now. But you're absolutely right. Having multiple groups in one battle group is going to be necessary now almost. So you don't, like you said, send out one ship and all of a sudden you get pummeled by 2 or 3 groups because you're not having the ability to play anymore until you draw the next card. So.
Yeah, and that's going to be the big thing is, trying to so it's Pathfinder, Line, Vanguard, and Flag.
That's right.
Flag's the one that you were missing. So like, the other side of it is players of any game hate when things are changed. Which is hilarious because the number one thing that all players want is for things to change. It's this weird thing of, we desperately want this to change. Okay, now we've changed it. How dare you change it? And I'm not having a go at TT Combat fans here. This is tabletop gamers in general. We all do it, myself included. We all do it. I still, to this day, will complain about the fact that they changed the rules on my Blood Angel Dreadnoughts, because the blended dread wasn't really that overpowered, and they weakened it to the point where it wasn't worth taking, because it annoyed me. And they changed it because people complained about it, but there was nothing wrong with it to begin with.
Yeah.
They changed the army to the point where you pretty much couldn't put it on the table anymore at the time. That has obviously changed because this is many years ago. So, the reason I bring this up is because I'm not having a go at you. I am one of you. I get it. I really do get it. I suspect that TT Combat knew that this feedback was coming. I'd be very surprised if they expected it to be as divisive as it has been. And I mean, within minutes of this post going live, it was comment after comment after comment. Honestly, how do you feel about it? I kind of get the impression you're in the middle somewhere.
I am in the middle. I'm excited to see how it plays out, and then I'll really base my decision on it. I'm leaning more favorable towards it because, again, like we're talking about, you're now not having to wait. I mean, because you'd have some guys with two or three groups in a battle group, and so you'd have to sit there and wait for your one group to go off. I mean, because especially if I drew my super heavy card, for example, with a strat rating of 15 and someone has a 14, but it's comprised of 3 different groups, then I'm just like, okay, am I going to get pummeled and lose half my fleet now? Now I have an opportunity to go first, or have him go first, and then I get to activate something. So I'm leaning more towards favorable.
Yeah.
So, but as I play more, that judgment will be solidified.
I mean, it 100% changes the strategy of the game. 100% changes the strategy of the game. I don't feel that's a bad thing. Again, I completely understand why people are saying it does. Because this isn't just changing how a weapon works. This literally, it is a different game now.
Yeah.
It would be like making 40k alternate activations, rather than I go first, you go first. Dropfleet Commander was never I go first, you go first. But when you have ultimate activations in a skirmish game, it's not so bad because it's my mini, and then your mini, and then it's back and forth, back and forth. In Dropfleet Commander, you could have 6 ships in that battle group. So, taking it to our next step kind of makes a little bit of sense.
Mm-hmm.
Especially with how crunchy Dropfleet Commander can get at times.
Yes.
Dropfleet Commander can get much more crunchy than I think people realize.
Your super heavy goes off in the middle of all your ships, and it has one of the big, huge distortion bubbles that just wrecks half your fleet. Well, that's when it gets crunchy real fast.
Yep. But from the other side of it, if you're now having to activate groups at a time, it's made some armies harder to use.
Yes.
I genuinely think that this is going to make things harder for Shaltari.
I agree.
I don't think that's why George has a problem with it. I don't think he's even thought that far ahead yet. I think it's going to help with PHR.
Absolutely.
Because PHR have to think so many turns ahead, you will have more of an opportunity to react to how things are going now. Because it's one group at a time, not your entire battle group.
Yes.
So
I think it's a mixture for UCM and Scourge. Having never played the Resistance, I'm not quite sure. I think it could be a little bit. And then with the Biospheres, none of us know what the Biospheres can even do, really.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see how they play out. But I have to agree, PHR is going to be a little bit easier to play now.
Yeah.
Because of this change.
I'm almost reluctant to say this because I don't want to encourage it. But I'm half expecting a percentage of the customer base to turn around and go, well, I'm just not going to play that way. Because that is basically what people will do. I will say this. I think that once people have played it for a bit, I'm not talking about 1 or 2 games, I mean genuinely playing it for a bit, for a few months, actively playing it. If you still don't like it, you could just throw that part out and play it the old way with everything else. In theory, it shouldn't break anything else. But when it comes to tournaments, it should be played the way that the game is intended to be played.
Agreed.
With an exception. If you're a TO and you're wanting to make the tournament more diverse, have a round of the tournament. Like, if it's a 3-tournament game, then the last game of the tournament is, okay, we're going back to standard activations. Just for this game. And I would say, you only do it for one, and you don't, like, you say at the start, one of these rounds will be standard activations as per the original rules. But we're not going to tell you which one it is.
Yeah.
Because that will throw a spanner in the works. See, you would either want to do it for the first game or the second game. But if you're going to be a tournament organizer and you want to do this, can I suggest that you only do this in an experienced player group?
Yeah.
If you start throwing around things like this at new players, you shouldn't be running tournaments. Because that's not okay.
No.
I'm not a tournament.
I think we've hit this one enough.
Yeah.
Admiral abilities, cards, no longer cards. I think this is kind of okay because sometimes you would totally forget about what your cards were in your deck.
Yeah.
Or in your hand. And with a 40 card deck, sometimes you never had those cards in the entire game. Yeah. There's some cards you like more than others. And you're like, why do I have this? I have to have the entire deck, and I only want 4 or 5 of them, to be honest.
And to be fair, there are some players that just didn't use the decks.
Yep.
I
don't even have the second edition or the second versions of the cards. I still have the original from the Kickstarter.
Yeah, same. I had the cards, but most of the time when I played the games, the people that I played with didn't want to use the cards. Because we didn't play frequently enough where we got used to it enough, I suppose. I don't know. For the tournament that I played a few years ago, we did use them for that. But I kind of feel like that's the only time I've ever used those cards. And I bought them specifically for the tournament. Every other game that I played casually, my opponent never really wanted to use them. Making them... I'm not saying this because, hey, this is a great idea. I am going to miss the cards. I enjoyed the fact that the cards existed. But, from a game point of view, having them as standard abilities, hopefully each faction has their own, or at least each faction has unique a number of standard ones and then unique ones.
And then some unique ones.
Yeah.
Because that's what the cards gave you. There were some unique ones, but then there's also some standard ones.
Yeah. If it's a more standard thing, then hopefully it can be shown on the play sheet, and it's just easy for everybody. It becomes a standard part of the game. It's not something you have to think about. It's just there. Different damage types. So this I
like
think
the idea.
People are all talking about the alternate activations. No, I'm not going back to that. I actually think this is going to be the thing that changes the game the most. I think people are sleeping on this detail.
Yeah.
and in a massive way. I will kind of repeat what I said initially, just for a minute, which is that this will either go one of two ways. Either it's going to go the way that TT Combat want it to go, which is that it adds depth to the game and it changes the way the game plays, or it's going to add the wrong type of crunch and just make the game more complicated. And I just want to say this right now, out loud, TT Combat, you really don't want to make this game any more complicated than it really is.
We're already trying to make it more smoother by changing the ground game. You may be adding a complicated aspect back into it.
I love Dropfleet Commander, despite how complicated it is. If you make this game any more complicated than it is, your game will be dead. And I mean that. If you make this any more complicated than it already is, your game will fall over. And it's already got a struggling player base. So, I'm not saying that's where it's going to go.
No.
I'm just
No.
really hoping that's not what happens. Honestly, I feel this should be fairly straightforward.
Because we already got beam weapons, we've got burn through, we've got kinetic already. And so it's just going to be a matter of, okay, for your beam weapon or your burn through, you have a little bit different save now. Instead of a normal 2+ armor save, you now have a 3+ armor save for the PHR, for example. You now have a 4+ save because it's a molten beam going through you instead of a mass driver. So I think
I'm shooting you with this type of weapon. Depending on what weapon I'm using, will depend on how you save it. I'm expecting is how this will go. It does mean that you're adding another table to the game, and more tables is not necessarily a good thing. But having different types of saves for different types of attacks allows for more diversity, and that's a good thing, because the game needs more of that.
I mean, the PHR already have to bring a wide variety of weapons. Yes, they're all generally kinetic, but we have different sized mass drivers, so we can target light ships, we can target medium ships, and so we can target heavy and super heavies, and get the benefits of each of those type of caliber weapons. And so we already bring a variety, and so now we have the ability to, and we don't have the ability to bring burn throughs very much. Only a few of our ships actually have burn through lasers on them. Otherwise, most of it's kinetic. And so I like this idea of, okay, my fleet is mostly kinetic. What can I hit a little bit easier of? Or like the UCM with their burn throughs, their Cobra lasers that are really, really good, especially on their super heavies or their heavy cruisers and battle cruisers. You may see more burn throughs. And so it'll be interesting to see what the Shaltari has too. I mean, because there's only one weapon in the Shaltari that was really worth taking, and now this is going to change that up.
The Shaltari are the faction that needed the changes the most. And they've tried to balance the Shaltari as hard as they can with the nerfing and the changes there. But nerfing the Shaltari could only do so much.
So far.
Because some of the problems with the Shaltari were the Shaltari and the way that they work. I suspect that we are going to see some significant changes. I'm hoping that we get a new type of rare weapon, and I mean rare, that ignores the shield. It should be something that you can't take very often. Maybe it's you can only ever have one of them on the fleet. But I would like to see that for every faction.
Yeah.
Because it wouldn't break Shaltari. It's not going to make them any easier to defeat, but it would give you an option. And the problem is that there are some... Scourge can't deal with Shaltari. Not effectively. I have seen it done, but it's...
You're silent running for the first 4 turns, pretty much.
You're silent running for the first 4 turns, and you have to pray that everything goes right. Anything goes slightly sideways, and you're really going to have trouble.
Yeah.
But it's going to be interesting to see where this goes. We've spoken to death about what we hope will happen with the ground game. How much of what we've said goes into their decisions will be interesting. I mean, we've spoken for years, not just on this podcast, but on the previous podcast, about ideas of how you could fix it. And we didn't really have all of the answers. Like, we've pretty much acknowledged that we don't really know how to fix this. I'm kind of hoping that one of the changes that they make is when the game scores, because I felt like that was one of the things that was making things harder.
Yeah.
So that you could kind of... One of the suggestions that I had made a long time ago was once things are scored, they go away. And so you just start fresh. Because that would just make things more simple. But that only works if you are scoring more frequently.
Mm-hmm.
Rather than only turn 4 and 6. Maybe it's every second turn. I mean, you probably don't necessarily want it to be every turn. But if you've got 6 rounds, why can't you have 2, 4, and 6? Or 4, 5, 6? Obviously, different missions will be different. So some of them are 4, 5, 6. Some of them are 2, 4, 6. Some of them are 1, 3, and 5. If you've only got 5 rounds, it depends on how many rounds you got.
I don't know if you could ever score on turn 1, unless you got
I don't think
really
you
close...
should. I'm just thinking of
Yeah. Unless you got a space station or a cluster that's really close to a group troop ship that can get there or a strike carrier in one turn.
Yeah.
Scoring on turn 1 is very hard, depending on the scenario.
I have done it, but it's very hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's it. I mean, ultimately, this doesn't really tell us much. It's not supposed to either.
No.
We will be seeing more. But everybody keeps on asking questions, and the answer is always, over the period of pre-order, that there will be more revealed. I know of certain people that know more than we do. I can't say anything more than that. Look, watch this space. You will see unboxings. You will see run plays of the rules fairly early. Watch this space. You will see it. If you are curious what's happening with Dropfleet Commander, subscribe. You will be seeing it here. I can't tell you when, but I can tell you it will happen. And it will happen pretty early, because we are that keen for this game. It will happen pretty early. So, I think that's it.
I think so.
Tournaments, demos, conventions, that kind of stuff.
All right. We have Blaze in the Northern Suburbs is happening on the 15th of September. Happens at 10 o'clock. It's at the Axes and Ales Club, which is at Thornbury. And yes, that is meant to be Thornbury, not Thornbuddy Bowls Club. $30 entry. It's a 3-round 40k tournament at 1,200 points. Melbourne Figures Painting Collection is taking place on, I believe that's actually meant to be the 29th from memory. Because I put a placeholder date in there and it's not correct. So it's the 29th of September at 12 o'clock till 5 o'clock. Happening at the Gaming Arena. Firestorm Games. We have been talking about this for a little while. The tournament has been delayed for reasons outside of their control. So the Dropfleet Commander version 2 tournament will now be taking place on the 9th of November 24. It's no longer taking place the week before pre-order. All of the rest of the details are the same, but the date has changed.
Yep.
PAX Australia from the 11th, so Friday the 11th of October till Sunday the 13th of October. I will do something on that Sunday. I don't know what it's going to be, but watch this space. I will announce something. Spellen Spectacle. Sorry, Michelle, I know I'm saying it wrong. That takes place in November, so it's the 9th of November until the 10th of November. It's happened at Jaarbroer, Utrecht, which is in the Netherlands. Again, I'm sorry, Michelle. I tried. I should get points for trying. And it's €17.95 for a day ticket. There doesn't seem to be a full weekend pass. You can only seem to buy the day ticket that I could find. That is the pre-sale price. If you turn up at the door, it is slightly more than that. Conquest Dutch World Tour. So this is a huge Conquest tournament. This is taking place that weekend. £35 entry. It's a 2,000 point tournament. If you want to be part of it, like if you're a fan of Conquest and you're in that area of the world, you need to go.
Go.
Seriously. Apparently there is a Strike Team Commander painting competition coming. We don't have dates yet, but watch this space. Also watch this space for unboxing for Strike Team Commander stuff. I have one thing to complain about, though. Do you know what that is, Socks?
No.
Because I can guarantee you that I didn't write that on the run sheet. Hence why I read it wrong. Because Michelle has accidentally typed it wrong.
He did type it wrong. Shame on you. You know
Michelle,
better.
You are a very naughty boy. I am ashamed of you. It's Drop Squad Commander. How dare you use the wrong phrase on my run sheet? Expect a nasty message through Facebook. Oh, dear. Michelle. Trying to be a good boy by TT Combat and breaking the rules. Just because they made you rename your Facebook group.
Yep.
All right. Thank you very much to Valhalla Hobby for sponsoring our channel. We really do appreciate it. Well, sponsoring the podcast, I should say, not the channel. Valhalla Hobby are a wonderful company. They do have your big games. Something that was actually pointed out to us recently, although they can stock it, they don't really sell a lot of the Dungeons and Dragons and Magic stuff. It's just not something that moves very much for them.
Mm-hmm.
But it is something that they have access to. It's just not something that really is a huge mover in their stores. But the thing that I always try to harp on, because I mention that stuff because you can buy that stuff everywhere. What you can't find everywhere is the huge plethora of indie scene stuff that they carry. If you want to buy Dropfleet Commander in the United States, this is a really good place to buy it. If you really love the look of those Bushido boxes, this is a really good place to buy it, apart from the one that's an event one. If you really love the look of the Conquest stuff, this is a really good place for you to buy it. Do you really love the look of those new Middle-earth minis? Maybe that's where you should pre-order them. And the Chaos Dwarves.
Guess I'm about ready to pre-order. What game did we just talk about? It's on pre-order already. About ready to submit my order. Armoured Clash.
But you wasn't going to buy it yet.
The rule books.
Yeah.
The cards. The dice. Putting my pre-order in now. Thank you, Valhalla Hobby.
Hey, are you wanting to take advantage of the fact that Weird is willing to send you a free model? Buy your stuff from them, get the receipt, and then submit it for a free mini. Valhalla Hobby are a great company. They have really good prices. And in the case of the Weird stuff, it's just the price on the receipt that's the important thing. Like that's all the important thing. So long as the order for Malifaux stuff is at least 75 United States dollars, that's all you really need to know. If you use our code and get your 5% discount on your first order, that's fine. So long as you're spending more than $75 on your product, it's fine. And you'll be spending $100 to get your discount anyway. So, bonus. Thank you very much to Valhalla Hobby. If you want to find them online, they are at valhallahobby.com. They do have an online web store that shows everything that they stock. Thank you very much. If you enjoy what we do, obviously do the regular things, like the podcast. If you've got an option to review us, please do. I don't believe that SoundCloud allows you to do that, but I know other places do. But also, if you're in a situation where you can consider supporting us, patreon.com/gettingtabled. It's only $2 a month. It gives you access to everything early, video-wise. Like in the case of Strike Team Commander, there's been minis that I've unboxed there months ago that are not live yet. They have been sitting there for months, viewable to our Patreon. Because I'm not releasing those videos until Drop Squad Commander... I said Strike Team again, didn't I? Until Drop Squad Commander...
Right.
Did I? Oh, I did say it right then. And still, until Drop Squad Commander is actually ready to be released, I'm not releasing those videos, because there's no point releasing them now. I will release them at the time as a, hey, this is a taste of what you can pre-order. Because that's probably the most helpful thing for TT Combat, but also it's probably when they'll get the most notice. So watch out for that. But yeah, please support us. We would appreciate it. We really, really would appreciate it. There's updates to our website that we would love to be able to do, and we need more funds in order to be able to make that change. Because there's stuff that we have to pay for that we don't have the funds to pay for at this time. If you would like to check out our website, it's gettingtabled.com. Any stories that we've been discussing this episode, you will find the links for them there. For whatever the most recent recording is, the links to what we have discussed in that episode will always be on the website. If you want to follow us, you can find us at facebook.com/gettingtabled. That's the most active social media platform we have. So that is definitely the number one place if you want to follow us. YouTube.com/gettingtabled. Please subscribe. Our numbers are growing. It's just nice drip feeding subscriptions, which is nice. And they seem to come from all of the content that we have. It's not just when we talk about this and not just when we talk about that. I mean, we certainly did have a really huge surgence of Conquest stuff when I was talking about that on the regular. But otherwise, it's been kind of drip feeding. Bushido seems to be a big one because Ben and I did do a series of videos. Speaking of which, I should have touched on this earlier. Ben and I are actually going to be doing some recording to cover the new stuff.
Nice.
If you'd like to reach out, if you have questions for us, questions about our opinions, if you've got something that you would like us to talk about, if you notice something that we said was wrong, gettingtabled@gmail.com. Like, seriously, we'd love to have more feedback, even if that feedback is, you said this, but that isn't right. It's fine. We're quite happy to be... We get corrected by our Patreon all the time. Especially me. Even on stuff that I'm not necessarily wrong about. I'll make an opinion on something. That's wrong. Well, no, it was just an opinion I had on something. Doesn't make it wrong. There is a Discord. You'll find a link in the description. I will usually flash it up on screen. Just click the link on the description because it's too hard to... You're not going to memorize the code that's on screen because Discord links are a pain. X. I refuse to call it X. Twitter, Instagram, and Threads is all at gettingtabled. And I'm sorry, George. I'm deleting X. It's called Twitter.
I know, right?
Twitch.com. Sorry, twitch.tv/Jason the Bruce. I'm a casual streamer. I'm not doing things on the regular. But over the next coming weeks, I should be doing a couple of things. It won't be this week, though, because I have recordings to do. Also, you can find me on Toyreel. youtube.com/Toyreel, which is similar sort of content, but for action figures. We had people that was at the world premiere in Australia for Transformers 1. We also had an interview with Hasbro. We have unboxings. We have lots of stuff. We have interviews with Roberson, the guys that do the actual transforming Transformers, like the robotic ones. We have interviews with the designers behind that. Yeah, well worth your time. Anything from you, Socks?
Nope, been good. Hopefully we'll have... Well, you're down here next time. It's just going to be George and I.
Actually, I'm not 100% sure if I am or not, because I think I got my dates wrong. But otherwise, thank you very much, Socks. Thank you very much
Yep.
to those that support us, and we will see you next time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
For listening to Getting Tabled. Music used in this podcast was created by Eric Matyas at soundimage.org.